when you're told that you're stupid, you're ugly, or you're not good in maths, or you will never amount to anything, that registers. And the more you listen to stuff like that, the more it stays and runs like a computer program in the background that affects you subconsciously. And so it's important for young people to work on challenging their negative thoughts.
Welcome to the My Future Business Show, where we get you in front of your best audience and keep you there. Not only are we interviewing the biggest names in business to help you become even more successful, we're inviting you to book your spot on the show to help you grow your business. So at the end of the call, make sure you fill in the interview application form at myfuturebusiness.com/interviews. Hi, and welcome back to the My Future Business Show. My name's Rick Nusky, I am the host, and I hope you're doing well no matter where you are in this big, wide, wonderful world of ours. Today, I hope you're strapped in for an amazing call because I'm on the line with Stella Maher. Welcome to the show, Stella.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
Oh, look, it's absolutely my pleasure. I've been looking forward to this call, Stella, because what you have to share with the My Future Business audience is very, very important. And often it's tucked away in society. We don't necessarily talk about it and do as much with it as we possibly could. But before we go into the core of the call, Stella, what we like to do is to learn a little bit more about you, things like where you're located and what you like to do in your pastime. Do you have any recreations, any sports, any hobbies that you like to get involved with?
Well, I used to sing in the choir. That's what I really loved to do, but
Fantastic.
I haven't done that lately because I've been quite busy. But what I also do that's a bit extra in addition to my profession is that I recently started a radio show.
Fantastic.
I wouldn't really call that recreational because it's also linked to my business. Perhaps I should start by saying what I do and who I am.
Absolutely. Let's start there. Great idea.
So you've already introduced me as I'm Stella Maher, and I'm a confidence coach and a mindset trainer. I am also a speaker and the founder of the Lioness Within Coaching. So I am passionate about working with young people. I was inspired to create a unique, holistic program that empowers young people and helps them to move from feeling insecure about their appearance to becoming more confident in their skin, and also to transform from feeling insecure about their abilities to become more confident about, to trust and believe in themselves and to believe that they have what it takes to achieve their dreams.
Yeah, and this is where we're going to dig deep into this call, Stella, and I think that's a really good start. Thank you so very much for sharing. Now, Stella, to give some context to the listeners on the call today with us, I'd love to talk a little bit about, I guess, your formal education and how it was and why it was that you came to be involved in this line of work, helping others in this way. Would you mind sharing that with the audience?
No, not at all. Actually, my formal education has nothing to do with what I do now. My initial education, my background was in office administration. I started off working as a confidential secretary and PA for many years in the corporate industry back home in Nigeria. And when I relocated here in London, I worked for the Greenwich Council for about 6 years before I was made redundant. And then all that time, I knew I wanted to do something different. So I eventually trained as a coach, as a life coach.
Yeah.
But there were a number of things leading up to it.
Yeah, well, I'd like to, if we could, because I think it's very important. So everybody who's on the call today, especially young people who are listening to this, and there are lots of young people that listen to this show, they take a lot of value away from it. So I think, I guess, unpacking your personal life's journey when you were younger, I think is very important. Would you mind sharing that with us?
Yes. When I was younger, I was bullied when I was in secondary school. I had a lot of, I had a really tough time from school bullies. I was picked on for my appearance. I was picked on for being skinny. I was picked on for my facial features. Sorry. And so that really affected my confidence,
Yeah.
my self-esteem, my self-worth. And the sad thing about being bullied is that it tends to haunt you well into adulthood.
Mm-hmm.
And so that lack of confidence affected me a great deal. I really, really struggled. And that's what's pushed me to decide to become a coach. And but then I overcame that, those struggles eventually in my life. When I was made redundant from my job, I started a small home business marketing health and well-being products. And that exposed me to a lot of self-development. It was like it unlocked the door to this whole new world of self-development. And I met a lot of amazing people. I attended loads of trainings, seminars, conferences, and it opened my eyes. And I started to view myself in a different way. I started to realize that I didn't have to allow, the bullies to control my life. I didn't have to allow the things they said to me to define who I became. I literally just allowed them to control my feelings, my life, and to mess with my self-belief. So I started to realize that I could be much more, I could do much more. And the more my self-belief grew, the more I wanted to help other people who were struggling to achieve their potential. And the more I knew that the sky was the limit. So if there are any young people out there listening, if you're being bullied, just know that it is the opinion of the bullies. It's not the truth. So you don't have to let that control your life.
Yes, absolutely. Sage advice.
So carrying on with my story, I eventually propped myself up and then decided I was going to become a coach so that I would help other people. And then something else happened. I was diagnosed with cancer.
Oh, wow.
And then all of that work, all of that self-belief, all of that confidence just came, it came falling down like a pack of cards.
Oh, I can only imagine.
Because when I was treated for cancer, it was not a great experience at all. I had to go through chemo and radiotherapy. And my chemotherapy was particularly challenging. I lost all my hair. I lost all my fingernails and all my toenails. And I had just about every allergic reaction you can think of to the chemo. So it really, really messed me up.
Yeah,
and
I can imagine.
That completely affected who I was and affected all the way I felt about myself. So I knew I had a battle on my hands, not just against the cancer, but to rebuild everything, all the confidence, all the self-esteem, all the self-worth, and all the self-belief I had about myself. I had to start from scratch to rebuild that after my cancer treatment.
Well, that's really impactful. That's pretty heavy duty stuff. Now, there's a couple of things in there, Stella, that I've taken away. You talked about going to the events earlier and hanging around, I guess, different people that got you to or helped you start thinking about yourself differently in a more positive light. I'd like to start there. How important are hanging around the right people in your lives, and can you walk away from others that are not, serving your life in the most positive way?
Absolutely. There are some people that are toxic to your life. And sadly, these could actually be your relatives or people who started off being your friends as a child, people that you used to hang around with and grew up with. But if as you progress in your life and you want to embrace new things, you want to become a better person and a better version of yourself, unfortunately, you're going to have to look at your values and decide what's serving you and what's not serving you. There are people who will not encourage you to be your best self. There are people who will try to drag you down. And please stay away from such people.
Yes.
Stay away from such people and go out there and find people who will lift you up, people who will help you to become your best self, people who will encourage you to grow as a person, people who will help you to encourage you to challenge yourself, to go out of your comfort zone and to aim for more.
I'd like to, if we could, Stella, jump back to the cancer phase of your life, because it was clearly quite challenging. You talked
Absolutely.
about having to rebuild your self-confidence. Prior to that, it appears to me that you had done a lot of work developing your sense of self-worth and resetting your values. Did any of that training, any of that exposure and experience help you move through that cancer phase?
Yes, it did. Actually, it did. I had to go back to try and it was like I had to coach myself, actually.
Yeah.
I also had the support of a wonderful charity. I don't know if I'm allowed to mention it.
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely.
Yes, breast cancer care, because it was breast cancer I had.
Right.
So they are now known as Breast Cancer Now, because they've merged. There used to be two charities, Breast Cancer Care and Breast Cancer Now. Now they've merged and become one, and they're called Breast Cancer Now.
Yeah.
So at the time I was going through those challenges, they really supported me. And I attended a course that they call Moving Forward course, which I had to attend after all my treatments, because that was actually when I struggled the most. After all my treatments, when I was trying to recover and I still had no hair, I had to wear a wig and had to paint on my eyebrows, and I had to try to clip on fake nails that kept falling off.
Wow. I'm glad you can laugh at it. It would
So
be
you can imagine what that did to my confidence. I felt like I was a freak, actually.
Wow. Oh.
So they really supported me and helped me to cope at that time,
Yeah.
to cope with the aftermath of my treatment and to start connecting back to who I was. And so I also had to tap back into those trainings I had and the support group and I had before I developed cancer. And that was what then prompted me to go and study to become a coach. So it was actually after my cancer treatment that I went and qualified as a coach.
You're very courageous, I have to say, and for you to bounce back so resiliently and so vibrantly, it's a credit to you, Stella. Now, I'd like to ask, we are all very different for God's given purpose. He has made us in His best light. We look the way we look, and there's nothing we can do about it, nor should we do anything about it. We are perfect just the way we are. Now, when somebody looks at themselves, particularly a young person, they're very open to being influenced by those around them. So what happens for a young person if they don't know whether or not this, quote unquote, normal is not actually being bullied? And then how do they go about recognizing that they're being bullied, do you think? Is there a way to find that?
I think in most cases of bullying, it's pretty obvious that you're being bullied. I mean, if you're being called names, you will recognize quickly enough that you're being bullied. The question is, the important thing here is not to take what the bullies say to you to heart. The mistake I made back then was I believed the words of the bullies as gospel. Yeah. And so I would look at myself in the mirror and I would hate what I saw in the mirror because I believed all the things they said about me.
Would you would you agree, Stella, that this is more of a reflection of their sense of self-worth than your own?
Absolutely. And it was only when I started to realize that I changed my perception of who I was. And so if you're being bullied, I actually feel sorry for bullies, because for them to actually go out and start harassing somebody and bullying somebody just goes to show that their own life is a mess.
Yeah.
That they hate who they are, and that there might actually be some sort of secret envy for the person they're targeting. I've also come to realize now that it could actually be because they envied me. They envied me my appearance, probably envied me my achievements, or envied me my family background. I
Yep.
don't know, but usually that's the case with bullies.
And what we
When
do
you
know,
when
if we know nothing else, Stella, we know that bullying is not acceptable. And
Absolutely.
I think one of the sometimes it can be a little bit almost subtle in a way. You talked about
Yes.
overt bullying, which is very obvious, but sometimes you talked about family members in the past, like things like you'll never amount to anything, or you've never
Oh,
been good
yes.
at maths, or you've never been good at writing.
Absolutely. That's another one. That's
These
another
are,
one.
undercurrents of
Mm-hmm.
negativity that do
Mm-hmm.
not help our young people to become the best at what they can be. Do you have conversations like this with young people?
Yes, I do actually. I do. And I try to, when I talk about um, negative self-talk, because what happens is when you're told that um, you're stupid, you're ugly, or you're not good in maths, or you
Mm-hmm.
will never amount to anything. Maybe a teacher says that casually to you, and that registers,
Yeah.
and that is running in the background like a computer program. You take it in, you feel bad, and then it's there. And the more you listen to stuff like that, the more it stays and runs like a computer program in the background that affects you subconsciously. You're not even aware that it's affecting everything you do, all those negativities. And so it's important for young people to work on challenging their negative thoughts. And so you can clean off that, delete those negative programs, and impute in more positive programs by by practicing positive self-talk, practicing practicing positive self-affirmations. It's very important.
Yeah.
If somebody has told you you're no good at maths, say to yourself, I may not be good at maths yet, but I can be if I practice. I can be if I work hard.
Yeah.
Nothing
Absolutely.
is impossible.
No.
And if somebody says to you, you're ugly, say to yourself, I am beautiful.
Just the
I
way
am
I am.
unique, just the way I am. I am enough. I look great. We don't all have to look the same. We all stand out as individuals, and we have been made to look perfect for the purpose for which we have been put on this earth.
Absolutely. You talked about um, using your, I guess, your life's experience like a computer, and you talked a little bit then about being able to reprogram yourself.
Yes.
How difficult is this, and how long would something like that take for somebody who may have been exposed to, you know, um, bullying for a long period of time?
Well, I have to say it's not easy, and it will not happen over time. I mean,
Yep.
overnight.
Mm-hmm.
It takes time. For me, particularly growing up in a country where you didn't get support, you didn't get counseling, you couldn't talk to people, you didn't have people to rely on, to guide you. I had to do the work all by myself. But in this part of the world, and in civilized, or more civilized, let me use
Yep.
that word.
Yep.
I sound like Nigeria is not civilized. Nigeria is civilized.
Yes, of course.
It is. It's just in
It's different.
this part of the world. Yes, things are different in this part of the world,
Yeah.
and you tend to get more support. So I would please say, speak to somebody. Speak to a grown-up. Speak to somebody you trust. There are charities out there. There are helplines you can phone. There are professionals you can speak to. I didn't have that, privilege, but you have it here in this part of the world. So it's very important that you do not bottle things up and keep things to yourself.
Yeah.
Reach out there. There is help. A good friend that I once interviewed on my radio show said, the monster is never as big as it seems when you share your problems. So
Absolutely.
the
Well,
monster is never that big when you reach out for help. It's only when you bottle things up and when you keep the things to yourself that you struggle, that the monster just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger and keeps messing with your mind.
another good way to look at that for everybody's on the show today is a problem shared is a problem halved.
Absolutely.
Yes,
Absolutely.
we're going through some tough times globally at the moment with everything that's going on. I'm wondering, this can only be posing more challenges, mental health challenges for our young people. Um, Not only are they probably getting elements of bullying that's unseen, but now they're having to deal with all of these other things that are going on. We're being isolated from society. What do you say to people who are struggling in this regard?
Well, things are really tough at this time. It's all the lockdown and particularly people who are struggling with loneliness. It can lead to this time because of the pandemic. A lot of people are really struggling, particularly young people. They're struggling with boredom, anxiety. Um, they're worried about their future. They're worried about bullying, like you said, because they spend more of their time online. There is cyberbullying. That tends to happen a lot more for young people. And what I would say, again, if you're being bullied, whether it's online or offline, get help. But if you're feeling anxious and you're lonely, there are ways around it. You can talk to people that your friends, you can connect with people, even if you cannot go out and see them because of the rules of lockdown. Connect with people online, virtually. You can have chats, you can have parties online, you can share things. I always say take on a hobby. If you don't already have a hobby, take on a new hobby.
Get one.
Find something that you enjoy doing, even if it's knitting, if it's singing, if it's dancing. I think there is there's a new social platform now called TikTok. I don't know how safe it is for very young people. I would say, I think a lot of people are using it at this time anyway. So if you want to go into it as a young person, do it safely. Use it safe. And if you're feeling very anxious, if you feel anxiety coming on, the one thing that you can do immediately is to just stay still and take deep breaths. Just take in deep breaths and try to calm yourself down. This would usually help to reduce anxiety, and then you can get on with what you're doing. But if you find that you're seriously struggling, then please speak to an expert, speak to a professional, speak to your parents. Yeah.
There's lots of dimensions to this, and there's quite a lot of dark outcomes for those who sit sit in silence and suffer by themselves. Just know for a fact that this is a global issue that we can face together, and that you are not alone, and there are people out there that you can speak with. So absolutely make sure that you reach out to somebody like Stella, and we're going to be talking a little bit how you can contact and start working with Stella. You're very fortunate to have Stella available to help you, and definitely reach out to her. Now, Stella, coming to the nuts and bolts of your program, I'd love to talk a little bit about the journey that you take young people through when they first meet you and start working with you to become more confident.
Actually, yes. I work with young people in groups. I tend to work with them in schools. So I normally would work with young people in groups. I don't usually work with them one-to-one. That's not saying that I can't do that. I have worked with a few young people in the past, one-to-one. So young people can approach me. I can coach them one-to-one, but my program is designed for a group,
for groups,
like a classroom group. And so I actually talk to them as a group. But like I said, I can also provide one-to-one services, mentoring and coaching.
Stella, something that just popped up in my mind is what are some of the, I guess, the current pressing questions that you're hearing in the group setting? Is it more about peer pressure? Is it to do with social media? Is it to do with what is it? What's
It's about peer pressure, family pressure, academic pressure, societal pressure. Young people are facing all of that, particularly around their appearance. I mean, surveys that have been done, studies show that young people tend to care about their appearance more than they actually do about their health.
Wow.
That's because of the pressure. There is so much pressure on them to conform to a particular body shape or image. In fact, according to the National Citizen Service UK, 27% of teenagers care more about their appearance than their health, and 34% of boys surveyed said they felt pressured to attain a muscular figure, while 55% of girls surveyed felt pressured to be skinny. And so,
Wow.
and this is really, I mean, and the situation is not helped by social media, because social media now comes in with images of supposedly perfect looking
Individuals.
stars.
Yeah.
Yes, I forget, celebrities is the
Yep.
word I'm looking for. Yes, celebrities. And because these young people spend a lot of their time online on these platforms, and they follow these celebrities, they worship the ground that these celebrities work on, they like their posts, they they literally, they copy what they try to copy what the celebrities do.
Yep.
And so and that's why they're constantly being pressurized, to look a certain way. I think girls more than boys feel this kind of pressure, but boys do as well. They do as well.
Mm.
And that's the sort of thing I get, when I'm training young people. I get that a lot. I get, they struggle. They struggle. In fact, it's so sad that some of them actually resort to self-harming
Yes.
and disorders, depression, self-isolation, loneliness, because they don't like the way they look, so they don't want to go out and be seen.
They have a
And so
very
they
distorted perception of self, don't they?
absolutely, absolutely, and that is really sad.
But there's an upside to this. There is an opportunity for us to turn this around, and I think that's where
Yes,
the power of this call, especially, is going to come through for young people.
yes,
People. So
absolutely.
if you're listening, be sure to listen carefully and take action, and know that you are not alone. I can't stress that enough for you. Now, Stella, I've seen much of your website. I've seen some of the testimonials, which are just wonderful, and
Oh,
you're doing some great work. Now, when people want to find out more about your show, let's start there. What's the name of your radio show that they can listen to?
oh, that it is called Look Up to the Stars. And
Fantastic.
that was actually born out of my passion for supporting young people. And so it explores role models that young people can look up to for inspiration, for motivation. As a radio show host, I try to bring all of those to young people: information, education, inspiration. So until I get to chat with these role models and I get them to tell their life stories, a bit like you're doing with me at the moment.
Yep.
I get them to share the challenges that they've been through and how they overcame them, and how they, achieved their dreams, and how they overcame their struggles and their adversities. And, with the hope that this will inspire young people to go for their dreams and to believe that no matter how tough things may be for them at the moment, that they too can get there. They too can achieve their dreams.
Who better to hear it from than a young person themselves?
Absolutely.
Very powerful stuff. Now, I'm looking at all of the bio information here, and one of the things that keeps coming back to me and to my mind, Stella, is the need to start getting around people that are positive for you, that are going to lift you up. And you touched a little earlier also on social media's impact in terms of people perceiving themselves negatively. Now, from a wider perspective, we see billboards with this ideal model figure, be it male or female. We see television adverts. What is your view on on general marketing, and what sort of responsibility should they be held accountable to for this issue?
I think it's all about balance. I mean, it's all well and good that these companies want to sell their products and they want to get young women and even women
Yeah.
in general, and young people to buy into the products that they market by using supposedly perfect looking models.
Yeah.
what really, really upsets me is when these images and messages suggest that a woman's value is strongly based on how she looks. And that is what that's what these companies must stop doing. It's their responsibility. They owe a duty of care to young women and young people. They owe a duty of care to stop giving out those images so that young people will not buy into such messages. It's not, your success in life is not based on how you look. Yeah. It's not based on how influential you are on social media. It's not based on how many likes or how many followings you get. It's based on who you are.
It's a bit of a mirage, isn't it?
Yes.
I have seen, and I don't know if you've seen, Stella, there has been advertisements where they have shapely figures, not your ideal figure, just a normal human being.
Yes.
And I take to that quite positively. What's your view on that? Do you think that's the right way to go?
Yes. I really appreciate that, because I see now a lot of companies are starting to change now and starting to use what's known as full-figured models in their adverts. And, people that you and I can relate to easily. Women who look like somebody somebody in your family, your auntie, your mother, or even yourself. And that is really a positive way to go. That's a good way to go. And companies who are not doing it should also follow suit. I'm not saying that it's good to be overweight. First and foremost, health is what's important here. Okay? Yeah. And as much as I don't encourage young people to starve themselves to look like celebrities and skinny models, at the same time, you don't want to be unhealthy. You don't want to eat, binge eat, and pile on the weight and become obese, because that will affect your health. So it's about finding a balance here. It's about focusing on your health by eating nutritious meals, exercising moderately. Find what works for you. Yeah. Go with what works for you. Don't overdo it so that you become skinny. Mm-hmm. And that's my advice for young people in that area.
That is incredible advice, and it's something that we all need to hear and listen to a lot more often. Thank you very much for sharing. Now, in terms of your Lioness Within program, when people want to find that and connect with you and work with you in groups, what is the process and where are they going to find you?
They can find me on my website, stellamaher.com. I'm also on Instagram as @the Lioness Within Coaching, and I'm also on Facebook. And if you just type in Stella Maher, you will find me on Facebook. I'm on YouTube as well, so go and subscribe to my channel on YouTube and follow me. And I have done, during the first lockdown, I did 100 1-minute motivational videos for young people on YouTube. So you can find it there, just literally 1 minute each. So just watch, and hopefully it should encourage you, particularly now that we've gone into a second lockdown.
Yeah, thank you so very much. I think this is time for a lot of people, a lot of young people, to be able to stop and reset and refocus their direction and know that there is a better future. And as is customary, Stella, I'm going to be making all of the links back to you and your wonderful work. We are privileged to have people like you in the world. And thank you so very much for spending some time with me on the My Future Business show today.
Thank you very much, Rick. It's been lovely speaking with you.
Thanks for joining us today. If you enjoyed the call, then make sure to subscribe, leave a comment, share us with your friends, and book your spot on the show at myfuturebusiness.com/interviews. And if you're looking for solutions that will help grow your business, then visit myfuturebusiness.com/shop.